Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode here from GUIGLIT. Today, by request, we are going through the EDUQAS GCSE Poetry Anthology with some hints, tips and samples. As always, please be sure to hit the thumbs up, make sure to share this video with all your friends and hit that bell icon for more updates. GUIGLIT is also across all social media platforms, so follow us there for even more tips. So what can you do with a video? As always, make sure to take notes, ask a question in the comments, the GUIGLIT guarantee. I do respond to every single comment I find. In addition, use this as a revision tool if you wish to. You can use this as mind maps or list examples as well. There'll be a practice question at the end, which you can attempt too. So let's break it down. This is the demands of the exam itself. Now, it's in paper 1 of English literature, along with Shakespeare. Most schools do Macbeth. Your school may be different. In addition, there are 2 questions. These 2 questions are worth a total of 40 marks. If you're looking to pass, you're looking at around the halfway mark to get a pass, and anything higher than that will get, obviously, a higher grade. Now, in addition, question 1 is always follows this structure. So it's always, how does A present the theme of B in C? It will be maybe tweak the word here and there, maybe have a little bit of variation, but it will always roughly follow that same route. So A means poet. B is the stated theme, and C is the poem provided. So, for example, how does John Keats present the theme of nature in To Autumn? Goes along those lines. Now, 3 to 4 paragraphs of points maximum should be absolutely fine for a question like that. And it's worth a total of 15 marks, 15 to 20 minutes in total you'll want to spend on that, including reading the poem. Remember, this is the one they give you the poem for, so it's important to remember that. Question 2 is compare C on the theme of B with D. So C is the poem provided, B is the named theme, and D, in this case, will be the poem of your choice. Now, here's the crux of the issue. That is the poem that's not provided. So you will want to go through, make sure you've got key ideas, key quotes, memorising those as part of your revision. It's worth roughly 6 to 8 paragraphs, and it's 25 marks in total. Should spend roughly 35 to 40 minutes on this part of the question, because it's worth that much more. So, always my advice here, big piece of advice. Start with poem D, and then compare back to poem C. So let's take, for example, that question I said earlier. How does John Keats present the theme of nature into autumn? If I was to compare that with, say, London, for example, I would analyse how nature is presented in London, human nature or the environment, and then go back to autumn. Just an idea off the top of my head, but take a pause there for a moment if you want to look through the question breakdown for that. In addition, so how do you answer question 1? What are we looking for? What's the examiner looking for? You want to grasp the theme, okay, and I will give you an example of what those themes will look like in a second. You can pause the video for that. You'll want to grasp the context. They're really looking for a little portion of context. So if it's a romantic poet like your Keats or your Shelley or your Byron, how does that impact it? If it's a war poet, how does their response or understanding and experience of war influence what they do? And in addition, these are generally the themes that you'll be looking for. I've got a different breakdown in a second, but they're just variations on the same words or phrases. So 3 points, possibly 4, but tracked. I always recommend tracked. Start from the title, work your way to the first words and lines, and then go from there. Maybe contemplate the mood or tone. And your last point you want to make should be on the last words or lines, or there or thereabouts. A good response to this question is always tracked. So it's really important to make sure that you do that. Now, the anthology itself, here it is. Here are all the poems broken up into roughly similar groups based on those themes I said before. A number of these have come up already. Now, it doesn't mean they won't come up again. Statistically speaking, the examination has been around since 2006, the specification that is, 2016, sorry, and it could happen again, but there's a rough grouping here that I think is really useful to have. So here's how I would introduce question 1. We've had a lot of questions about, well, how do I start a question? How do I start a response? This is how I would do it. Take a moment to look at this. So I've gone, how does Rupert Brooke present war in The Soldier? By the way, these bold italic words and phrases, you can interchange them. So you could go, how does Percy Shelley present power in Ozymandias? How does Carol Ann Duffy present love in Valentine? You've got loads of different variations there, and it's just an easy way to practice, easy way to revise. So here's the introduction I've created. Take a pause if you wish to look at that for a minute. And I'm going to break down exactly why I've done this the way I have done this in just a second. So I always go by TABL, and you'll see it's color-coded there. TABL stands for title, author, background, and linked question. Any good literature response will have those 4 features, those 4 facets, and you'll see it here. So written on the brink of the First World War, Rupert Brooke's poem, The Soldier, eulogizes, that means gives high praise to, the act of warfare. Written in sonnet form, it is a love poem to the idea of serving one's nation and making the ultimate sacrifice. Now, strictly speaking, my introduction here doesn't follow TABL in order, but it doesn't have to. It should just have those 4 elements in a really strong response. And that's really good also, by the way, for if you're doing Christmas Carol or if you're doing Blood Brothers. I would encourage you to think of TABL in your opening. So how would you answer question 2? Now, question 2 is a little more complex. There's 2 methods. In both, I have a similar thing I would recommend, though. So first method is kind of what I call a tennis style. Imagine a tennis match where the ball goes over the net, back, forth, back, forth. You can either analyse point by point. You can analyse the title of your second poem and then go back to the first, the mood of the second poem back to the first. But you always start with the new poem. I can't stress how important that is. Can't stress how useful that is. You always start with the new poem. In addition, the alternative is almost treated as 2 mini essays. So you analyse the new poem, 3 to 4 points, and then analyse the first poem against that one, comparing back. So that's the other way to do it. But the vital thing is in question 2, you always want to start with the second new poem that you've remembered. I can't stress how important that is. Here's my model question 2 introduction, just to give you a flavour of what you'd look for. So we got the same question, but the same text. Compare the presentation of war in The Soldier to a poem of your choice. So let's break this down. I've gone with both The Soldier by Rupert Brooke and Dulce et Decorum Est by Wilfred Owen are poems that are a presentation of war. However, while Brooke's poem chooses to present war as an honourable deed, Owen's poem instead chooses to shine a light on the horrors of the very same conflict. So again, we've got context, we've got a bit of comparison going on, we've got some elements here that show a clear demonstration of comparison from the very start, with a little nod to context at the end there as well, which I think is very useful. But as always, thank you very much for subscribing and watching. I hope that's been very useful for you. Any questions, drop them in the comments. Don't forget to follow GUIGLIT on the various social media apps. And until next time, take care, all the very best, and bye-bye.